So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our workshop. It's a workshop organized within the framework of the CO₂MPRISE project. My name is Gabriele Mulas. I work at the University of Sassari. I have the honor and the pleasure to coordinate this project. And together with me, there is my colleague, please, Sebastiano.
Yes.
My colleague, please.
Good afternoon to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me also to introduce this workshop for CO₂MPRISE project, organized in cooperation with the other partners of our consortium that will be introduced by Gabriele in the presentation. Now,
we go ahead with a short presentation of the project, and the start of the consortium of the program of this afternoon is a short presentation of our CO₂MPRISE project. Now we will show you some slides concerning the project, and we will conclude this presentation by introducing the agenda of the afternoon and leaving the words after that to the other speakers. So, we try to start the slides. Yeah. Okay. As I said, the title of our workshop of today is Sustainability, Standardization and Regulation of New Tools for Assessment of CO₂ Mitigation Techniques. So our idea is to present our project before everything. What is CO₂MPRISE? Our project is a Marie Curie RISE action, which was founded within the framework of Horizon 2020 program. And our project is aimed at developing new technologies in CO₂ capture and conversion. As you can see, our project is carried out by a network which includes several partners. The University of Sassari, where we are from this, the Universidad de Burgos in Spain, a research center in Germany, and almost Zentrum sited in Gießtacht, near to Hamburg. Furthermore, a company which is based in Greece, in Athens, Monolithos Catalyst and Recycling Limited. And after that, two partners in South America, the Universidad de Chile at Santiago in Chile, and the Instituto Balseiro and the National Atomic Energy Center in Bariloche in Argentina. I welcomed all the friends who are now connected from all of these sites. And as I said, there are three different research centers connected to academia. I mean, the University of Sassari, the research center in Germany, and the University of Burgos in Spain. Two research centers outside from Europe, and a company, Monolithos in Greece. Okay, you can go further. Our project is organized in several work packages that I now will briefly explain to you. Please, Sebastiano, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Okay. The basic research involved in the project is mainly related to material research activity. Our aim is to find innovative solutions for CO₂ capture and conversion by using innovative materials. And we are developing our basic research at lab scale, studying different materials and processes, which are briefly summarized here. olivine-based materials used to convert carbon dioxide by a mechanical activation in order to transform carbon dioxide to methane and to test its potentialities under practical conditions. Furthermore, we are studying the photocatalytic reduction of CO2 by solar irradiation using different innovative materials. We are studying the potentialities of metal hydrides instead of hydrogen in order to activate the Fischer-Tropsch reaction, even this by using mechanochemical input. Furthermore, we are exploring different carbon-based new materials, carbon nanotubes, graphene-based materials, in order to, as new solvents, in order to capture CO2 from large point sources. And furthermore, we are evaluating the possible toxicity effects of these or some of these materials when used at the nanoscale. So, behind these studies carried out at lab scale, we are also interested in evaluate the upscale of these systems in order to evaluate the use of these materials at a large or a wide scale. So we are trying to implement at a large scale the olivine-based processes for CO2 conversion. Furthermore, we are trying to evaluate to scale the synthesis of porous materials and to test their activity as photocatalysts for CO2 reduction. At the same time, we are studying the Fischer-Tropsch activated of metal hydrides at a wider scale in order to study this process on a pre-pilot scale. And furthermore, also the high surface carbon-based materials are studied in terms of the preparation of large amount of these materials, which is a non-solved problem at up to now, the preparation of large scale these carbon-based sources. But our interest is not okay. The main results obtained so far concerning this process, these materials and processes, we put in evidence the high conversion of CO2 to light hydrocarbons and to carbonates by mechanically treating the olivine in order to convert CO2. Okay. At the same time, we observed the photo-induced CO2 transformation to methane by solar irradiation using a composite system made by olivine and titanium dioxide. And at the same time, we also evaluated the high efficiency of metal hydrides and oxide for the activation of CO2. We obtained also very good results in terms of capacity of CO2 transformation over porous materials and metal catalysts at very low temperature and pressure. I mean, moderate temperature and pressure. And finally, we obtained also very interesting results concerning the nanotoxicity assessment of the reagents and the products in the investigated processes. So basically, starting from these results, we are also going on in order to develop new technologies from the results of our research. And we are very proud to say that some of the innovation which have been developed within the framework of our project were selected by the Innovation Radar European Commission initiative, which is an initiative aimed to identify high potentialities in European Union founded research and innovation. And here are listed some of the, the 4 themes which were selected by this initiative as potential, very interesting innovation aimed to develop new technologies. So these results have been already published and dissemination is going on. At present, more than 10 papers have been already published in international peer-reviewed journals. The results have been also presented during several international, national, and local conferences. All of the groups organized different seminars, some in school, more is being organized. And furthermore, other activities are still in progress. And among these are the workshop of today and the webinar that we organized and which will be online tomorrow. And more in detail and concerning the workshop of today, the question is, the basic idea is which milestone have to be developed in order to carry on a CO2 strategy at the global level, and how to implement new technologies which is based on the scientific achievement. To do this, we believe that different actions should be carried out, and in particular the 3 which are listed here. Aware small, medium enterprises and large companies about the innovative research and the results which are carried out in the founded programs, and it is important to facilitate the capacity of the companies to transfer such results into their organization. At the same time, it's crucial to develop a policy recommendation guide which includes all the activity and the actions related to CO2 management, the regulation related to the CO2 control in terms of emissions and adaptation actions. And this should be made in the European Union, as well as for what is concerned in terms of our project in Latin American and Caribbean states community. And furthermore, of course, our goal will be to develop the prototypes related to our research and based on the best performing investigated materials and processes. Then the workshop of today, and to this regard, in the next slide, we will report the agenda of today, and I stop myself here and leave the word to Sebastiano.
Okay. Again, good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure for me to introduce the first talk of today from AP Fiumesanto Power Plant Director, Dr. Paolo Appeddu. And please, I recommend all the participants to prepare their questions after all the presentation. In particular, during the roundtable, we will discuss it, and I would like to ask you some questions or curiosity that will be discussed during the roundtable. So, Paolo, please, you can start your presentation. Please.
Okay, good afternoon. I share the presentation. Okay. It is possible for you to see the presentation? It is okay for the presentation for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I go ahead. Paolo Appeddu speaking. I'm the plant manager of Fiumesanto, which is a coal-fired power station in Sardinia. And with me, there is Paola Maioli, which is responsible for IPPC directive and environmental authorization. Okay, the presentation is a quick overview on the power station, which is located in the north of the island, Sardinia, which is a very beautiful area in terms of environmental and beautiful sea terms. The power station is very close to two naturalistic natural park. The first one is Asinara Island, and the other one is the Stagno di Pilo, which are very, very important in terms of animals and vegetal kind of species. All the area in the of the power station, more or less 150 hectares, are included in the industrial development area of the provincia of Sassari Produttore Salguero. One of the most important things for us is to manage appropriately the safety issue and the safety risk that the power station has. And we are doing that with very, very good results comparing to the past. We are almost 3 years without any injuries by contractors that work for us, and more than 2 years which our employees didn't have. We are certified in terms of environmental system, EMAS and ISO 14000 certification, and as the same of safety certification, OH-SAS, and quality certification for the unloading of bulk of the vessel and the production of the subproducts like fly ashes and gypsum. The power station is divided in two main places. The first one is the blue, confined in blue, which is the coal-fire unit. We have two coal-fire units, 320 megawatt each one, the gross capacity. On the right, you can find the coal storage yard. The yellow one is the old oil unit, 160 each one, which is out of service starting 2014. We received the coal from vessels, and we discharge the vessels in the docking station, which is in the industrial port. Then the coal is moved with the conveyor belt for 10 kilometers to the power station. The power station has two conventional units, Unit 3 and Unit 4, which are coal-fired, as we mentioned before. And the Units 3 and 4 are environmentally compliant, being equipped with the electrostatic precipitator, denitrification system, ACR, and the flue gas desulfuration, FGD. Of course, we don't have any kind of CO2 control or reduction system installed in the plant. The power plant has been authorized since 2009 to use in confining with coal biomass up to 5% of energy in input. This authorization was obtained in order to reduce the incidence of CO2 emission due to the coal fire. We are facing a new reduction of the limits, the limits that you can see in the slide is the actual limit, and that will be reduced in August 2021. This is the reason why we are going to face important outage to maintain, to improve and upgrade our plants. The coal is delivered by vessel to the industrial port, and the power plant jetty is about 10 kilometers far from the power station. The transportation system is the conveyor belt system. The coal is used in the power station since 2003, only in groups, only on the unit 3 and 4. before the Unit 3 and 4 were operated since 1992-1993 using heavy oil. Okay. The power station at the moment is essential for the Sardinia electrical system, and we have an agreement with the TSO for manage the power station until 2024 with the same regime. That means that we are remunerated back to back by the cost of the electricity produced, and we received an amount to cover the fixed cost of the power station. This is the reason why Fiumesanto today probably is the coal-fired power station in Italy, which has the higher production in comparison to the capacity installed. Let's start to speak about European legislation. The system ITS is one of the three market tools, together with the clean development mechanism and the joint implementation, aimed at reduction of the atmospheric emissions from production activities. The system is based on the cap and trade principle, which makes it possible to pursue the objective connected with the reduction of the total emission level within the European Union in the most efficient way at sustainable cost. The European Community did not wait for the official entry into force of Kyoto Protocol, February 2005, and in January, the directive in 87/2003, which is part of the European program relating to climate change, which entered in force in October, creates a market share at community level, based on the idea that emissions are reduced where it is most convenient. The emissions market, emission trading, is an administrative tool used to control emission of pollutants and greenhouse gases at an international level through the monetary quotation of the emission themselves and the trading of the emission quotas or share between different states for compliance with of each of these environmental constraints imposed by Kyoto Protocol. The European emission trading system was introduced in 2005 and currently regulates the emissions produced by approximately 11,000 European industrial plants until 2030. At present, there are 4 phases. Phase 1 and phase 2 are already closed, and which are related to the Kyoto Protocol. We are going to close phase 3, which is Kyoto 2 Protocol, and starting to phase 4, Paris Agreement. The time schedule and the roadmap is up to 2050. The first phase started on January 2005 and ended on December 2007. And at the time, in this framework, the share was free. The only obligation for the producers was to communicate the produced CO2 in the 3 previous years. The second phase, starting in January 2008, ended to 2012. Also in this phase, the share was free. In the Kyoto period, the European emission trading system entered in the second phase and integrated into the international emission trading envisaged by the protocol. The obligation was not to exceed the free share allocated per producer. The third phase started in January 2013 and will end at the end of this year. The shares are not free, but sold at auction, and we move from national registers to European registers. New sectors and gas are introduced, and there is talk, and also the aircraft operators will be included. This is a chart, a graphic that you can, in which you can see the price of the CO2. The price were high in the first 5 years of the period, when the cost of the share was almost free, and then started to be paid by the 2013 up to 2020. As you can see, starting from 2017, the prices of the CO2 starting to increase very, very strongly until the end of last year. Which industrial sectors did Directive initially regulate? In the first 3 years, the emission trading scheme will cover the carbon dioxide emission of large combustion plants with a combustion calorific power exceeding 20 megawatt installed capacity, with the exception of those for hazardous and urban waste, and also oil refineries, cook ovens, plants for the production and transformation of ferrous metals, and industry of mineral products. For instance, cement, glass fiber, ceramic product. With the latest regulation, 2012, aircraft operators were included. Main states for CO2 emission in 2017, the first one was China, followed by United States. The first European country was Germany, and Italy was in the middle of the position of the benchmark. This chart indicates how the European countries are positioned, allocated in terms of compliance to the reduction objective. Italy, Portugal, UK, Greece have done more than they have to do. Some countries are a little bit late in respect of the objective. This is a chart that indicates who are responsible for the emission of CO2. First one is transportation system, then the electricity production. Industry is the lower, and of course, as with the green line, which is the home and city production, which is going lower due to the effect of the energy efficiency applied in the Europe in the last 20 years. What industry must do to have the comply with the directive? Sorry for the Italian, we were able to translate everything. The producer has to obtain the authorization to adopt an control system and to certify the control system. We have to obtain the authorization from the national authority and to have the approbation for the control plan. Then we have to verify our annual communication by a third-party organism. And then we have to pay for the quota for the share of the CO2, or to give back what we have not consumed. What happened in Fiumesanto in terms of evolution of the CO2 management? In 2005, we have obtained the authorization to emit CO2. 2006, we have the obligation to produce for the determination of CO2 from fuels, third parties verification, adopt a plan for the resolution of non-conformities. 2010, we have launched a monitoring plan to be sent to the competent authority for approval. We have starting to monitoring the methodology plan. Additional information were required, and also the certification of the laboratory accreditation of the laboratory were modified by a new standard. 2013, the calculation of uncertainty of the quantity of incoming fuels and on the fuel stock in the stockyard were upgraded, and the risk assessment procedure was updated. 2015, the internal verification obligation was before third-party verification was complied. New risk assessment procedure was performed and prepared, and the format is given by the ministry. So there is a strong control by the ministry on the activity on the model that we have to comply with. 2017, the method of entering CO2 communication on the ministry website changes, and the payments are imposed for annual communication and for each modification of authorities and on the monitoring plan. How to calculate CO2 emissions? Before calculating the CO2 emission, it is necessary to establish whether if the fuels used are a higher flow or de minimis flow. This is established to the following table. De minimis means if the flow is minus than 1,000 tons CO2 tons per year, or if is minor than 5,000 tons of CO2 per year. In the first case, the criteria is minus 2%, and however, maximum 20,000 tons of CO2. The other, for the flow which are greater than the limits we have seen before, all the flows, that means that all the flows has to be taken in consideration for the calculation. For greater flow, for instance, in the case of the power station, coal and fuel oil, the formula to be applied is the following. We have to consider the storage in the year number M, plus the coal which is introduced in the year M+1, minus the storage in the year M+1. This formula is to be multiplied for the oxidation factor, which is for oil 1. For coal, it is analyzed. It must be analyzed and calculated. Qual è il fattore di revisione? Questo è il fattore di oxidation. Also, the storage has to be multiplied for the emission factor, FE, which is a result of analysis. Okay, for the de minimis flows, for instance, in the for the power station, the diesel fuel and the calcium carbonate, the formula to be applied is the following, and it is simpler than the formula which is used for coal, because we have not to multiply with the oxidating factor is 1, and the CO2 emission is the sum of the storage of the year M plus the introduction minus the storage of year number M+1. Okay, the percentage of CO3 and magnesium CO3 must be determined in the laboratory, while 0.44 and 0.522 are the conversion factor for CO2 and magnesium CO3 respectively. At the end, 99.59% of the emission for the power station is produced by coal. The rest, 0.4 1% is the result of the de minimis flow, which is, of course, calcium carbonate, diesel or gas oil, and magnesium carbonate. This is the other flow, heavy fuel oil in blue, diesel or gas oil in red, CO₂ in green. Okay, what are the projects for the future? Of course, we are not able at the moment to contain the emission of the CO₂ by coal, but we have obligation to phase out from the coal by Italian legislation, in 2025. The company is deeply in investigation, different technology and possibility to do that. Some scenarios were analyzed with the support of Università di Sassari, and the technology we are exploring are biomass conversion. We are talking about wood chips and pellets, gas conversion in terms of CCGT, combined cycle gas turbine or open cycle gas turbine, solar panel. In a certain way, we are going deeply to analyze the possibility to storage in terms of battery or in terms of hydrogen production or carbon capture. The chart below indicates the CO₂ factor in comparison with the coal in terms of megawatt hour produced. If the coal produces 100% of CO₂ per megawatt hour produced, the biomass conversion would reduce the CO₂ factor up to 15%. A gas conversion will be less effective, 50%. Solar panel, of course, 0. Storage, depending on which kind of source will be used for produce a storage for hydrogen or for battery. Okay, that's it. And we have concluded our presentation at the moment.
Okay. I would like to congratulate Paolo for the very interesting talk and presentation, and secondly also for his contribution to our workshop. For any question, please, I recommend you to write something in the few sentences in the YouTube channel, and we'll discuss later about that. Now is the time of Jarno Dakhorst from the Netherlands Standardization Institute. The presentation is procedures and tools for standardization of carbon dioxide capture and storage technologies in EU. So Jarno, it's your time.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, because I understood there's also people from at least Latin America, so it is early in the morning, I suppose. So great to have you all on this workshop, and also thank you for the organizers to give me the opportunity to present to you more about CCUS standardization. I hope everyone can hear me and see me, and I also have my slide deck in front of you. The outline of the speak is first a brief introduction into NEN, that's standardization body, then an introduction into standardization, because I don't know how familiar you are with standardization at this moment. Then I'll give an overview about the CCUS standardization activities. And then at the end, I will summarize with the link between standards and innovation that is hopefully also of interest for you. Also very important is that during this presentation, we sometimes will use the Mentimeter to poll your opinion. So if you have a smartphone or you have access to internet, please visit www.menti.com, and you use the code 302961. And then once you are there, then you will receive the question, and then you can respond to the question. And I can show you the results on my screen, and I will share it afterwards with you as well. So that way we have also some interaction, because for some people it's very early, so they will become awake. Some people it is maybe already late in the afternoon, and they will keep awake. And I will receive some useful information as well. So it is a win-win-win situation for all of us. So to start, we have a test question, and then I will swap screen. And hopefully everything is working fine. Let's see if it's really working. Then I have to share another screen. This one. So hopefully it works. It seems it's working because I see the first responses already coming in. I don't know how many people we have on the call. So I don't know how many people I can expect that may provide the response. So apparently to date everyone is still working from home, and some people are at the office. Due to the COVID-19 situation, most people are, I think, also obliged to work remotely. Okay, also, let's see, people are still logging in, so that's good. Okay, maybe we have number 10, or do we stick to the 9? Let's see how to proceed to the next question. Okay, then I think we move on. Okay, I'm also curious about your first associations with standardization. So if you hear about standardization, what pops up in your mind? So you can use some terms, some keywords. And hopefully we'll generate a nice word cloud. So what are your associations with standardization? Legislation, okay, I will come back to that later on today. More regulation, rules, saying, this is bureaucracy, okay. Measurements, methodology, quality, key performance indicators, control, ISO, very good. Okay, at least there's a strong link with legislation, regulation, and rules. This is one important issue according to you, and there's a lot of relationship with measurement and analysis. Okay, I don't know whether people are still typing or not. Otherwise, I will keep this screen open. But then I will continue with my presentation. So then I have to stop sharing this screen. And then I have to go back to my presentation. Okay, so this question we had. So then, brief introduction of myself. I have a master in molecular sciences at the Wageningen University. You might have heard of this university, at least has a very good name in the agri-food sector. I have first worked for about 7 years in the energy and environmental consultancy. And I'm working now for almost 13 years at NEN, the Dutch standardization body. In my leisure, I'm also volunteering at the scouting group and also for a political party. My walking during holidays, I prefer to walk in the natural areas. That's a little bit about me. Then about NEN. Unfortunately, this slide is in Dutch. I could not find an English annual plan. But I think the key message is that last year we celebrated our 300th employee. We have almost 6,000 active committee members in the Netherlands. Well, the Netherlands have about 17 million inhabitants. We have more than 36,000 standards in our portfolio. Most of them are either European standards or international standards. And the number of national standards are decreasing. And we also pay a lot of attention to personal deployment of our colleagues. Well, I think that's the main message. And in 2016, we celebrated our 100 years anniversary. And since that time, we are Royal Dutch. So we are very honored about that recognition by the King of the Netherlands. We are a gateway to both European and international standardization. And I think also, also Italy, Greece, Germany, Spain, Chile, Argentina. Every country has its own national standards body that ensure representation in regional and global standardization. We have 4 main activities. Most important, I think, is to develop and maintain standards and similar deliverables. We also develop and manage certification schemes. It's very important to know that NEN does not certify, so these certification schemes are available for certification bodies. We also publish our standards, of course. They are available for everyone. Of course, you have to pay a small fee for that because we are a non-for-profit organization, but also a non-for-lose organization. So that is part of our business model. And we also develop all kinds of training courses and organize events to ensure the correct implementation of our standards. Then the standardization process. And later on, I will also show you a brief animation, because sometimes it's better than a lot of words. Why do we standardize? Well, first of all, we would like to overcome trade barriers, and I like this very old-fashioned picture with all different kind of gate sizes, and that create barriers that you like to prevent. Also very important is that everyone is speaking the same language, especially nowadays where we are in all kinds of transitions. Sectors that didn't speak with each other before have to speak with each other, and then it's good that everyone is using the same language to avoid any misunderstandings. It's also about harmonization of specifications. I think it's also part of the word cloud that everyone is using the same specs. And I use often the example of petrol. In Europe, you can petrol your car or fuel your car everywhere because the fuel quality is harmonized across whole Europe. There's also a part of your license to operate, and that's where I also like the vision of the oil and gas sector, and it might be the vision of other sectors as well, of international standards used locally worldwide. So everyone across the world is using also their own standards instead of their own standards. And last but not least, we also try to contribute to achieving the sustainability development goals of the United Nations. And if you look to the ISO website, you see great examples in which way ISO standards contribute to these goals. Standardization, I think there are three important principles. First of all, it is an open multi-stakeholders process. So everyone who has an interest is invited to join standardization. And as a standardization body, it is our task to ensure that every stakeholder is informed about new activities. And it is up to the stakeholder, of course, to decide whether to take part or not. But to have a broadly accepted standard, it is good that different stakeholders categories are involved in setting the standards. It's based on consensus building. So at the end, there should be no sustained opposition about the content of the document. And last but not least, this is also a very transparent process. So even if you don't participate, we always publish a document for public consultation. So everyone has the possibility to provide comments. And at the end, the final document is available for everyone. So the final document is called a standard. And sometimes there's also different definitions for a standard, but if we talk about standards, then we have about documents with just agreement about products, services, or systems. It's also important to know that it is designed for voluntary use. We are aware that sometimes it's becoming more mandatory because it's becoming binding through referencing in legislation. And of course, also within your supply chain, your buyer can require you that you have to conform to certain standards. Then it supports your business model and addresses today's challenges. Already indicated that it should take away any trade barriers. It is also a very effective tool for transferring know-how and technology. So it's really setting the best practices. It's also very important if you look to health, safety, environment, and security issues. It supports all kinds of innovations, and I will come back to that later on today. And also, it is also good for your image. As part of building your governance inside your organization. When we use the Mentimeter, a lot of people associate standardization with legislation or regulation, and there is indeed a link, because you have to comply with legal requirements. Every company or organization has to do that. Of course, which legal requirements apply are depending on your kind of operations. And sometimes you can use standards to demonstrate that you comply with the law if you correctly implement a standard. And of course, I can trust on your blue eyes. So you do kind of self-declaration. I have implemented this standard, so I comply with the law. Sometimes it's also good that a third party visit your organization to assess whether you conform to the standard, and that way you conform to legal requirements. So then you have a certificate issued by a third party that states that you conform to one or more standards that have been assessed by the certification body. Then the regulator may have confidence in that standard and say, okay, or in the certificate, and say, okay, well, with this certificate, you already demonstrated you comply with the law, so I don't have to check it myself anymore. And the regulator can have a different way of surveying your activities. And why should you participate in standardization? Well, I think all about creating added value. Of course, I think that's always the judgment you make yourself. Is it of interest for me to do something? And for standardization, you have influence on market developments because you are at the early stage of development and you can influence the content of the standard. You have access to an excellent network with peers in which you can exchange know-how. You've also, in that way, faster and easier access to your markets, new insights in innovation and developments. It's also part of knowledge sharing. And because you have first-hand information, you can already position your organization and adapt your business strategy. Of course, you know that a certain standard will be available at a certain time, and people may use the standards. So you can already adjust your strategy on that. And as explained, it's kind of knowledge acquisition and sharing. So it is a very interesting process in that respect. And there are a lot of documents available that also demonstrate that there is always a return of your investment. I provide hyperlinks in those documents if you would like to have more information about that. Then the main topic of today, the CCS standardization. I use this picture, I think it's taken from Pembina, kind of organization who say, okay, well, you can capture the CO2. In a previous presentation, we had the example of a power plant. Any emitter of CO2 might qualify to capture that. And then you can either apply segregation, so underground storage, either onshore or offshore, or you can utilize the captured CO2, and then you have different routes to utilize it and to convert it either in products or use it for enhanced oil recovery, geothermal, or coal bed methane. So then at the end, the CO2 still is stored underground, but then after it is served for another purpose. If you look to standardization, then there's only standardization activities in the field of CCS. In ISO, there's a dedicated technical committee, and we love numbers, so it's Technical Committee 265, in chronological order. And they cover everything with respect to design, construction, operation, environmental planning and management, risk management, quantification, monitoring and verification, and all kinds of related activities to CCS. And this map indicates which countries are already involved in the standardization activities. So you see for the comprise project partners, at least Germany, Spain, and Italy is involved. Greece has no involvement. and also from Latin America, and only Argentina is an observing member. So this might also be a call to you to contact the national standardization body if you have an interest to take part in the standardization activities, so that this map will become more colorful. If you look to the standards portfolio to date, then we have 13 publications and 4 documents under development. So there are 2 documents already on the capture side, and 2 more documents will follow. On the capture side, we mainly look to the power plant activities, but also the cement industry already provide a report with the different technologies that are in a certain stage of maturity. There is 1 document dealing with the transportation by pipeline. But in addition to pipeline transportation, you see also a lot of activities with respect to transportation by shipping. And then often it will first, the captured CO2 will be liquefied and then transported by ship to an offshore underground storage. And with respect to underground storage, there are 2 documents available nowadays. One about geological storage and one about storing CO2 combined with enhanced oil recovery. There's a new document and the preparation dealing with the transition from enhanced oil recovery to storage only. And in addition, there are some overarching aspects. Of course, vocabulary, as explained in the general introduction, it's very important that everyone is speaking the same language. So most of the technical committees in ISO has a working group dealing with terminology and develops 1 or more documents explaining the vocabulary in their field of activities. Then, of course, risk management is very important. That needs to be managed. And also with respect to the quantification, the verification, and the CO2 strong position, of course, is important. In the previous presentation, reference was made to the emission trading system. Then, of course, it's good to know the amount of CO2 that is being captured and stored to be measured after and analyzed, also to identify certain impurities, because impurities can have negative impact on the integrity of your assets. And also, if CO2 has a value, economic value, you would like to know what you get. So that way, I was also glad to see that you have a link between standardization, analysis, measurements. Of course, that is a link that is certainly available. But if you look to CO2 utilization, to my knowledge, there's not really a technical committee at this moment in ISO or somewhere else dealing with standards for the utilization aspect. Because the utilization is also part of the capture and transportation chain. So those standards that are available and can also be used in the utilization part. The only thing is indeed that for utilizing the CO2, you need additional standards. But on the other hand, CO2 is also then a product of feedstock, and depending on the application, there might already be standards for a particular sector using CO2 or other feedstocks. So that might be covered as well. 2 years ago, we have mapped the possible standardization needs for utilization. So within that CCS technical committee, there was an ad hoc group looking at the possible gaps that needs to be addressed to tackle the utilization. And the main conclusions from that ad hoc group were that at least geo-utilization, mineralization has a high potential to reduce the CO2 emissions. With respect to mineralization, you need really a business case. Also assess the CO2 emission reduction. If you look to the conversion to chemicals, fuels, or to other kind of products, then at the time of the study, the conclusion was that the size of the market was too small to have a big impact on CO2 emission savings. Furthermore, it was concluded that you need a life cycle assessment to take into account all the other environmental impacts, so not only CO2, but also you replace other materials. You have to make a comparison about that impact as well. And the whole process of capturing CO2, transporting CO2, temporary storage is also a high energy consuming process. So to have a real CO2 impact, then the use of renewable energy is in fact essential for the overall carbon footprint. And then as explained, the CO2-based products is depending on the application, and for most of those applications there is already a technical committee available to develop the standards. So that was at least would not be in task for TC 265 particularly. Then with respect to the CO2 geo-utilization, you've also other types of enhanced hydrocarbon or water recovery should be considered and should be compared. Again, also with respect to mineralization and other applications, with respect to standardization, we have to take into account that there are already other technical committees that can provide the standards that will be needed. So the overall conclusion was that well, there was a need for harmonizing the guidelines to evaluate GHG emissions. That was considered, or is still considered work for another technical committee dealing with environmental management. That already has developed a suite of standards dealing with GHG emission calculations. With a CCU, that is another topic. In that respect, I'm aware that different universities and research institutes have developed their own LCA methodology. They're all based on the generic ISO standards, but they all differ from each other. So the next step can be to seek harmonization between the different methodologies for LCA with respect to CCU. To have one accepted methodology that will support, I think, also the acceptance of CCU to decarbonize the economy, to avoid that people are cherry picking depending on the kind of application that they select the most positive methodology. So that was with respect to the utilization activities. And then I would like to have your input again. So I will switch screens again. And then you can already open your Menti. And hopefully the code is still available. Let's see, it's becoming dark in my room. Okay, then we move to the next question. So this is more a general question, so not related to standardization yet, but if you, there's a kind of analysis that considers 6 different factors. It's called the PESEL. You look at political factors, the economic factors, the social factors, technological, legal, and environmental. What are the main factors that need to be tackled in your view to support the development of CCUS? So where are nowadays the main barriers that hinder CCS developments that needs to be tackled? And I think you have 100 points, and you can divide the 100 points over the 6 different factors. Apparently 2 persons skips this question. I think that might also be possible, apparently. So if you look in your research, in your pilot projects or other activities with respect to CCUS, what needs to be solved to accelerate the deployment? I don't know whether people are providing input or not, because I see people responding to this question, but I don't see anything moving. Maybe I did something wrong in composing this question, or that will only be shown after I put the next button. So I will keep this a little bit longer open. And I'm also curious what will happen if I push the button. I don't know whether people are still ranking the factors. I think last time we had about 9 persons. Okay, let's see what happens. Otherwise, I hope the information is stored somewhere else. But let's see. Oh, apparently, I hope your input is saved somewhere. And otherwise, bad luck. But at least thank you for your contributions. But then I would like to link those barriers to standardization, and for which of the factors you think that are a barrier, can standardization be a helpful tool to at least lower the barrier, and hopefully can take it away. And I think now you have only 3 options to select. Which are the 3 main? Yes, this one is working. Great. All right, so we see at least that you should support political, so it should support policy. Technological, I think there's a strong link with innovation. Economic and also environmental issues. Okay, more. Yes, because it's good to know also with standardization, one of the aims is also to improve the cost effectiveness so that it will be cheaper to apply new technologies. Not everyone is using the same specification and same dimensions. So also for suppliers, it's more easy to produce their equipment, machineries, installations, and so on. Okay. Yes, there were, as people indicate a strong link between standardization and legislation. They don't think standardization is very much needed to cover, to tackle the legal issues. Maybe the legislation is very well in place. That's really a barrier. I'm a little bit surprised about the social part, because I think if you look to CCUS, then also the public acceptance, depending on maybe also in which country you are, there are different views about CCUS. So standards can also help to increase public awareness and public acceptance of this kind of technologies. So then you are in the social domain. But okay, that's I think the total score. So then at least we know that the political, the technological factors are the most important factors in which standardization can contribute, and then economic and environmental issues. Okay, thank you. At least that's very helpful. Then I will continue with my presentation. And then I have to share. Okay. What we have in mind is, as explained, there are not really activities, at least on standardization for the utilization part. And also in Europe to date, there is not really a coordination with respect to standardization. So what I have now on the screen, and I use the Netherlands as my home country as an example. We can participate in the ISO standardization activities. And if you look to CCUS, then this is of course the technical committee on CCS, but also other committees dealing with LCAs and carbon footprinting, and all kinds of technical committees that can use CO2 as a feedstock to develop their, to produce their products. And every country can decide to participate in the ISO technical committee or not. It can be indeed by being an expert and really writing the documents, or just comment and provide voting recommendations on documents that are circulated. And at the end, countries can decide whether or not to adopt the ISO standard as a national standard. So there's not an obligation, it's an option for every country to take a decision on that. Then the picture can become more complex, but I will explain it. In Europe, we have a European standardization organization. It's called CEN, French abbreviation of Comité Européen Normalisation, in which 34 countries are a member. So it's the EU 27, the United Kingdom, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, I think one of the Balkan countries, Macedonia. Nowadays is not on this map, but also Turkey is a member of CEN. And the benefit of the possibility is that a possible new committee can adopt the ISO standards. And then it will become a European standard. And the strength of a European standard is that every country shall adopt a European standard as a national standard and withdraw any potential conflicting standard. So in a single process, an ISO standard will become a national standard in 34 European countries. This is a very strong instrument in support of the single European market, about taking away barriers of trade and other barriers. And likewise, experts can participate in ISO. Experts can also participate in European standardization activities. And also national bodies can provide comments and cast votes on documents that are circulated. And as explained, at the end, they have to adopt the European standard as a national standard. Another benefit can be that we first develop a standard at European level, and we offer that standard to ISO to convert it into an ISO document. And then, of course, we can back adopt the ISO document as a European standard, and with that as a national standard in 34 countries. And what's often the case is that standards we develop within Europe can also support European policy, or the European Commission can either ask CEN to develop particular standards to support policy or to be referenced in legislation. And I'll provide you some examples if we talk about research and innovation. So there's another visualization about what I just explained. So you have three levels of certification, certification standardization, the global level, the European level, and the national level. So at the national level, you have a kind of a standardization committee, also called a mirror committee, that can mirror the activities at ISO. But if you develop a committee on the European level, then also the technical committee level at CEN. Of course, the stakeholders should be aware of any legislation, because standards should at least not conflict with legislation. So locally, it can be a kind of mining act dealing with storage of CO2. In Europe, you have already legislation dealing with CCS. And on the other hand, but it might be future, the Commission can ask CEN to develop particular standards. This is kind of visualization how also standardization is linked with legislation. And as mentioned at the beginning, you also see a strong link between standardization and legislation, so that picture is your association is that way justified. So then we go back to the Mentimeter again, because I would like to pose two statements to get your feedback about this potential initiative to develop a European committee to develop standards in the field of CCUS. And I have to stop sharing this screen and to share this one again. All right, so then we move to the next question. So 2 statements. The first statement about creating a European TC. TC is a technical committee for CCS standardization is needed. So you can see, well, you can strongly disagree, then you give them 1. You can strongly agree, then you rank it at 5 or somewhere in between. And the second question is, I mentioned that also the European Commission can request to develop certain European standards to support policy or to support legislation. And do you think this is of added value that the Commission requests for certain standards, also to ensure that they will be implemented across Europe? Okay, it is at least good to see that from this audience there is support to establish this kind of committee dealing with developing European standards or adopting ISO standards to become European standards in the field of CCUS. Of course, the sample size is not, I think, representative, but I think this is very good indication. So I'm very pleased about that. Okay. Then I think everyone has had the opportunity to cast his or her ranking. So then I will stop sharing this one and we'll go back to my presentation. And I think the next slide will be an animation. Yes, it is. So now I will move to the standards plus innovation. And we'll start with a movie. Let's see. Then I have to share this one. There's always the risk about the audio, so I hope you will also have audio. Okay, I'm conscious about the time. I think already run out of my time slot. So I will move very quickly to the remaining part of my presentation. I assume that the presentation will be available afterwards. At least I give permission to share it with all of you. So I think I already explained this is very important to link standardization and innovation also from a research point of view, from the lab to the procurement. And I think already mentioned the different benefits of standardization that can be of help of you. I think the networking part is very important for all kinds of activities you perform. But it's also important, also if you develop new research proposals, that if you have a link with standardization, that might be helpful to get the proposal accepted, because then the research will be disseminated through standards and will be made available to everyone in the outside world. And that is nowadays also an important criterion applied by the European Commission, but maybe also by other research programs outside Europe, to ensure that research results are also used after the project. And on this website you can find more information. And one way of doing so is so-called what I call the fast lane, with a so-called SEN workshop agreement. That is a kind of pre-standard that also contains requirements, but it can be developed in a 6 to 12 months time frame. So it's very suitable to include in your project proposal, because most of the projects nowadays run, I think, for 3 years. You need first to have some research results before you can take that into account for developing standards. So then you can use the last year of your research project to develop this SEN workshop agreement. And after that, it can be easily transformed into European standards in second stage approach. There's some useful guidance documents available that explains in more detail the SEN workshop agreement process, and also how you can bridge your research activities with standardization. And that are brand new editions, both new editions published earlier this month, so hot from the press. And there are also e-learning tools available to link research and innovation to standardization. So if you have some time left, then it is worthwhile to watch those e-learning tools. And I will share the link also with you after this workshop. I think there's one question left. I'm also interested indeed if you have an interest in participating in standardization activities yourself, and if you will pay more attention to taking standardization in your next research project. So again, you're asked to rank 1 to 5, strongly disagree or strongly agree. Questions about being an expert or a member of your National Standards Committee related to CCUS standardization. And also, okay, it might be good that in our next project proposal you'll take into account that we can disseminate our research through setting standards like a SEN workshop agreement or another kind of standards. Also taking into account that we have audience outside Europe. Okay, it's also is very positive, I think, that at least most of you have some interest and see also benefits of taking into account standardization in their project proposal. Okay, thank you all. I think this is from my side.
Jarno, thank you very much for your contribution, for the very, very interesting presentation, for in particular for our consortium, in particular for our group. It's a new instruments, and it will be very interesting to be exploited for our project. So thank you again for your contribution, and okay. Wait a few minutes for the roundtable to discuss about the main topics. Okay, the next speaker that I would like to introduce now is Mariana Brüning González. She's a chemical engineering, and now she's working as a project engineer at the Center of Sustainable Design and Process Systemic Engineering, PROFUS, the acronym. The expertise is life cycle analysis and the carbon footprint. So, Mariana, thank you again, and please, your time.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen now. I don't know if you can see. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is my presentation, is how is mitigation being addressed in Chile? I will talk about a little of climate and environmental vulnerability, our GHG inventory, and some policies and compromises from our country. First of all, I will show you the table of contents. I will introduce myself and also Chile and the carbon context. I will show you the GHG inventory and some points of the Chilean NDC, and strategies and policies and challenges and opportunities due to carbon and also environmental issues. Well, as you can notice, I'm not a native English speaker, so I'm sorry if I have some little grammar or vocabulary mistakes, but I have to remove the dust of my English. I'm not used to speaking English. I'm a chemical engineer and have a master in chemical engineering, and as I told you, I work in sustainability, like in different parts, in a small company in sustainability consulting, where I measure carbon footprint and life cycle assessment. Also, I'm a researcher in the Center of Sustainability Design and System Engineering at Universidad de Chile. And I'm sustainability and circular economy lecturer in some programs in Universidad de Chile. So first of all, I need to talk about Chile. Chile is a country in South America. We have 18 million inhabitants. And globally speaking, in 2015, we emit 0.26% of the global emissions. It seems very low, but we have a lot of issues in in emissions, carbon emissions, and also local contaminations to do. And this is very important because we have 7 of the 9 vulnerability criteria considering by the UNFCCC. So we have a lot to do, but I need to talk about our environmental line story. In 1994, we have the first environmental basis law and the first institution, state institution called CONAMA, the National Commission of Environment. A few years later, Chile ratified the Kyoto Protocol, and just 10 years ago, there was a new institutionalism in the environmental themes. In 2010, the Ministry of Environment started, and the Superintendence of Environment, the institution that has the fiscalization role. So this is very new in Chile, although our history was very close to environment, but like in a politic way, it's very new. And last year we have a lot of things happening in Chile. It started the climate change draft law that is still it's not signed yet. It's not active yet, but started just last year. But also last year we have a lot of strikes and social movement because of inequality that was historically happening in Chile, like environmental inequality, the cost of living in Chile, if you consider health problems, education problems, and this started like a big movement that one of the consequences was that the COP25 that was planned to and organized by Chile occurred in Madrid. And of course, these years we are in a very different situation because of COVID, and also because of this revolution. We had yesterday a plebiscite to change our constitution, a constitution that started in the 80s in a dictatorship. So since then, Chile was so focused. There was an emphasis placed in economic growth. That's why we are just started thinking in the politics for sustainable and for environment and conservation and saving like our home. So I will talk about some strategies, policies, but you may notice that they're like just starting. So I will tell you our GHG inventory since 1990 till 2016. You can see there's like increasing the emissions of greenhouse gases. This is the emissions in the last inventory in 2016, where energy sector is like the big contribution to emissions of greenhouse gases. And what are the compromises from Chile to this big problem called climate change or climate emergency? In the nationally determined contribution, because Chile is part of the Paris Agreement, this is like the big issues in mitigation component. To reduce the greenhouse emissions compared with 2016 in a 30% at 2030. Also, the emissions of black carbon at 25% compared with 2016. And to reach GHG neutrality at 2050, and with numbers, what does it mean that we have a peak? We expected and we compromised to have a peak at 2025, but then we can just still producing those emissions, reduce it to 95 megatons of carbon dioxide equivalent at 2030. However, the NDC that needs to be actualized every 5 years. Chile was the first country that makes the NDC this year. Despite that, we are still in, we're not even compatible with the 2 degrees goal in the Paris Agreement. So we are still, things are happening. There are compromises, but we are still, we need to work for that. And I will show you now some strategies and policies towards mitigation. First of all, there's a national climate change action plan that started in 2017. There's a lot of things happening with energy. There's a policy called Energy 2050, the Energy Road, which is mainly focused in the decarbonization metrics. Also, there are issues happening in electromobility, energy efficiency, and strategy of climate change and vegetational resources. And I will talk a little about the carbon price and green taxes in Chile, but also there are some other initiatives like municipal environmental certification, some voluntary initiatives in the private sector, like this program, Huella Chile. It's a program that guides to companies to measure their carbon footprint. Also, there is these agreements called APL, Acuerdos de Producción Limpia, agreements of clean production. Those are different programs and initiatives in the private sector, but they're still in a volunteer initiatives. And there is the partnership for market readiness that started in 2014, and this concludes now in the first step to MRV system for green taxes. And what about green taxes? Now there is green taxes in Chile for boilers and turbines with more than 50 megawatt heat power. So not every company needs to pay green taxes. And the green taxes, the cost of these green taxes is $5 per ton of carbon dioxide. That is 8 times less than it's supposed to cost the green taxes for reach the Paris Agreement. And also the Ministry of Social Development of Chile has measured a social carbon price that is $32. So things are happening in this way in the carbon price and green taxes, but we are still have a lot of things to do to reach our commitments. And this has been focused in Chile, especially in renewable energy. As you may know, Chile is very large country, and we have a lot of potential in solar energy and wind energy, and since the academic world, there has been a lot of efforts in decarbonization, green hydrogen. So we are working to like a sustainable country, but now the focus has been put in energy, and we have to do a lot of more things. And I will show you now the challenges and opportunities. This is research. I think it's not very good, but I need to show you this. A research by the Center of Climate and Resilience. Is an institution that is part from Universidad de Chile, University of Chile, and with a lot of experts in climate change, in environmental issues. They looked at the initiatives, laws, and rules that are now in Chile, and these are a lot of laws, rules that needs to be changed to achieve our goals in environmental and in climate change issues. And also there are a lot of proposal laws like decarbonization law, soil law, to have a certified by the carbon footprint of the products. We also have to change our water code. So I just want to show you that Chile has a lot of things that are related to environment and climate change, but we still have to work on that to make to reach our goals. Also, I need to show you that there are other important aspects to improve related to environment, not necessarily to climate change, but of course we know that we are just a big system that have a lot of relations. Like we need to have the right to water. Some places in Chile has not potable fresh water for human use. Also, there's a lot of economic and life dependence in endemic forest and other ecosystems from the indigenous people in Chile, and we have a lot of human rights issues to watch there. And I didn't know how to traduce this, but in Chile there are some places that we call zonas de sacrificio, sacrifice zones, where there are a lot of thermoelectric plants or mining plants, and our laws, our rules may be produced and that people there are having a lot of health problems, a lot of like atmospheric and water contamination. So we have to change some rules and look forward and maybe look closer to have like a better relationship with the people around, the communities around where the companies are, and where are the nature-based solutions that are happening like in our soil and our country, but laws may look closer and look for better future also in Chile. And to conclude some things, I need to put emphasis. There are a lot of plans, roadmaps, and laws happening in Chile. Today, there's a lot of focus on decarbonization of the matrix. Our policies and strategies, but they are so new. Some of them are not like active now. In the private sector, there are initiatives, but still voluntary, and socio-economical issues need to improve to get like a better equality in Chile, and we have to look at that, not just in an economic growth. So it's better to watch it in a sustainable way, in an environmental, social, and economic way to get to a better country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your very clear and interesting contribution, Mariana. It was another important point for us, for our consortium, to understand, to have a global picture about the situation in the South America countries, in particular, in this case, from Chile, not only because we are collaborating between within the network and between the unit groups, but also in order to figure out how it's possible to manage the situation in this topic of carbon dioxide, carbon capture and transformation in the at the global level, in the sense cooperation between Europe and South America, how it's possible to improve and to implement our knowledge, and then to realize new prototypes for mitigate the carbon dioxide level. Now, okay, after again, congratulations for your nice presentation. It's time for the round table. Let me say that, okay, Paolo Appeddu from EP has to be because busy with other meeting. And by the way, if there is any question about the situation in Porto Torres, in Fiumesanto industrial plant, please send us an email, for example, and the reply will be done in a few days. No problem for that. By the way, we can start, and if Gabriele would like to add something to this and introduce this discussion, please.
Thank you, Sebastiano. First of all, I would like to congratulate with all the speakers for the very, very interesting presentation. And I would like to underline that all the topics that were treated and discussed were just on the line of what we had in mind when we organized this workshop. I mean, we had a presentation about the situation in Italy, taking the advantage of the presentation of a company, a power plant, who is a large producer of CO2 in Italy. So we knew from the presentation of Paolo which is the real situation for a company, for a large producer of CO2 in Italy, like them. After that, we had an idea about the rules and the approach for the standardization, thanks to the presentation of Jarno, and also by the presentation of Mariana, we get a pattern of what is happening in South America. But I have a general question for Jarno and Mariana about this point. I mean, and this is also related to what is the basic idea of our project. We are developing materials, we are developing processes, we are trying to approach new possibilities and maybe, we hope, new innovations and new technologies for CO2 control, for CO2 storage, or for CO2 utilization and transformation. So is there, I believe that the same is, of course, in South America and many other projects. And I suppose there is a large effort all over the Europe and also, of course, in North and South America. And for what you know, is there already established a sort of paper, a sort of block of rules which should be taken into account by new technologies which are just at the start of the story? I mean, at the end, research and innovation process, there could be innovative processes or new technologies, but just of the basic level of the implementation. So, is there already established in Europe and in South America, let's say, a paper of rules for what should a new technology do in order to step the stairs of transform it in something which could be implemented by companies, small or large enterprises, and so on. So I don't know if something like this already exists, or this is just what Jarno was explaining that should be done in terms of standardization of many steps in CCUS. I don't know. The question is, of course, for both of you in Europe and in South America. I believe, please, Mariana.
Thank you. I think that is like a big issue that we have to improve, because there are a lot of initiatives. I think in an academic world, a lot of papers, a lot of technology creating, but as you say, it's nothing like well established in the politics, like in Latin America politics. We're like just putting the principles to get to the decarbonization or the neutrality, but not how can we get there. And I think this is like a big issue that should establish with the PMR, with Article 6 in the Paris Agreement, that should have been established in COP25, but didn't happen. And in Chile, there are some programs with the carbon market, and how to verify carbon capture, but they're not happening. It's just asking the questions to get there. So this is a big challenge, I think. It's in the academic world, but hasn't get to the laws and the policies and the strategies.
Many thanks. Jarno, and what about in Europe? Is there an already established road in order to facilitate the implementation in companies in terms of rules, of course, in terms of rules and of standards, the implementation of output of research results, innovation, for example, innovation founded by the European Union?
To my understanding, there's a lot of room for improvement. I think there's also one of the reasons why we have organized a session with different stakeholders, both European sector associations dealing with CCUS, like the Zero Emission Platform, CO2 Value Europe, but also the Global CCS Institute, who have offices in Europe. And other parties say, okay, well, we need to coordinate our activities because everyone is doing good stuff. I think also explained by Mariana. It's very diverse. And now we have to seek the common denominator to see whether we can harmonize and coordinate all the activities. Also, I think that will improve the efficiency overall at the end. And I think also standardization can be a helpful tool in achieving that. Of course, it's just one of the building blocks, but it's an essential building block to get things moving more quicker, more efficiently in support of the Paris Agreement, but also as part of the European Green Deal. I think I already used the example of the LCA methodologies. There's a lot of research going on. Every university is doing its own projects. But we have to come together and to see whether we can develop a single method to ensure that we compare apples with apples and not apples with oranges. It's also very important for the economics, but also for the public acceptance.
Okay, many thanks.
Many thanks. Jarno, Mariana, there are a few questions for you from the YouTube channel. Okay, the first one is just a curiosity from our colleague Luca Capai. And there is a question at the estimation the time needed in order to have a standardization on CCUS technologies. At EU level, would a request from the European Council speed up the process? Many thanks, Luca, for this very interesting question.
Thank you, because I did not enter too much detail about the development process of a standard. But normally, developing a standard, where it is an ISO standard or a European standard, it will take about 3 years. So it is a long process because there are also some formal voting steps in between. And don't know whether a standardization request from the Commission will speed up the process, or because we first have to negotiate with the Commission about the standardization requests. So that may take more time, but at the end, if there is a request, then we have to deliver the standard within the given time frame. So then we have some pressure to develop a standard. So if there is really a need for a standard, then I will always propose, well, just kick off and don't wait from the Commission. So that depends on the stakeholders' needs. So I hope that answered your question, Luca.
Okay, thank you, Jarno. There is a second question for Mariana. In that case, how does the program UELA Chile work? And do you see some parallelism, cooperation with potential with other European programs? The question is from Sonia Martel from ICRAM, Universidad de Burgos.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the program is called Huella Chile, Chile footprint. Is from the Ministry of Environment in Chile, and it's to guide some companies to measure their carbon footprint. It's based on GHG protocol and some other standardizations guides. It's like focused a little bit on LCA, but with a company look, like for what are they emitting, what are the emissions for the people that transport in for going to the company. And I think it has like a lot of potential cooperation with some other European programs. In some years, I hope Huella Chile could be focused on products. So maybe a product made in Chile that has a certified footprint measure could be like equally certified by another European program, so that to contribute that people that or companies that produce some products in Chile can sell to other parts of the world with this certification that has like an LCA-based measure that says that that product has a carbon footprint but 5 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, I don't know. So I think that has a lot of potential and may have like all related in a big system that can handle to potentiate Chilean companies or Chilean policies to show that this is a country where we can capture a lot of carbon and GHG. So I think that there's a lot of potential, but as I told you, the Ministry of Environment had just 10 years, and we're like starting.
Okay, good. Thank you for your answer. And okay, I don't know if there are more questions from. Yes. Okay. I have a special question for Jarno about I don't know if there are there some point of contact between standardization and the patent path, in the sense that in order to introduce a device or a process in the market, in the commercialization, it is necessary to have to protect our device and our process. So in that case, it's also important to have a path for the standardization, but I don't know if they can work in the same way or in parallel way, or we have two steps. For example, okay, before the standardization, after that we have to finalize our patent. I don't know if you can comment. You can put some comments on that point.
Yeah, well, I'm not really a specialist in patents. I know there is a link between standards and patents or patents. I don't know how you correctly pronounce it in English. So if you develop a standard based on a patent, you have to recognize that. And I have to look up the exact procedures, because a standard is normally an open process. So the information in the standard is available to everyone. So if it is based on the patent, then special care should be taken with the one who owns the patent. And I can provide after this workshop more information about that particularly, because I have to look it up, to be honest. But it's possible to develop standards that is related to a patented technology, but it should be recognized in the standard itself.
Okay, many thanks, Jarno. It is also important, this point, because probably the next workshop on COMPRISE will be also based on the contribution from patent and recognition, and the other side, the opportunity on Horizon Europe. This is a link also with Mariana, because the next program, European program for research, will be based on focus on Horizon Europe. So it will be also important to see if there will be more opportunities for joint in a project, in a European project with a topic on carbon capture and transformation and storage, and this could be in order to be realizable and available this in this new proposal, this new project, probably we have to make the future step on comprise, in the sense that we have to link and to have to finalize our project to prepare something from the lab to the hub scale. In that case, I would like to ask to Mariana in particular if there is some emerging technologies in Chile for the mitigation of carbon dioxide that probably now is in the lab. It's just at TRL 3, 4, and it is potential for application in few years.
Yes, I think that there are a lot of things happening, like in the academic world. Actually, I have been working with a little company that just made like a paint that has incorporated some catalysis technology to absorb the carbon dioxide and can be used in the urban place, or some companies that emit carbon dioxide or maybe other contaminants. Things are like happening. They can be proved, but as I told you, this is not like a reduced project validated now by the mechanism working in Chile. As I told you, the way Chile exists, there are like certifications for reduction, but now, like, what technology is it can be used to verify that you are reducing your emissions or you're capturing emissions. These are still like in a discussion. So there are things happening like this paint that can absorb carbon dioxide, or maybe other catalysis technologies, but how to apply that in the world, in the private world, is the thing that we need to still like putting into the laws or the rules.
Okay, thank you, Mariana, for the answer. And I don't know, Gabriele, would you like to add something?
Yeah, maybe my question is quite similar to the previous ones, but I would like to underline a point. Is there, if there is no yet an established way for transforming new technologies in something which is already online with the existing standards, are projects of this kind well considered and founded in both of the organization? I mean, in in a simpler way, does exist a way to have found in South America and also in Europe to approach the standardization of a new technology developed in as the output of a research project?
Well, maybe to respond for Europe, I think might also apply for other parts of the world. Reference was already made to the technical readiness level. So at a certain stage, you have to say, okay, well, now it is on a certain TRL. Now it's good to develop a standard, because they can really boost that kind of innovation if you have a standardized approach of a standardized technology. It's very important to have this kind of research and demonstration projects. And then at a certain stage, you have to decide, okay, now to make the next step, now we need to standardize some elements of this project to scale it up.
Okay, so at which level of the TRL, in your opinion, is the standardization of the?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
I think there are materials available that can give you that answer. I have to look it up. I have read it some times ago, but did not store it in my brains.
Oh, okay.
No. But I think the kind of information is available, and maybe also on the website. I just introduced to you the standards plus innovation. I think that I also include that kind of answers to your questions in the e-learning tools.
Okay, thanks.
And so, I don't know if there are some other questions from the YouTube channel. Okay, probably we can spend the last minutes for the participant from our side to thank to all the participants in particular and the people who work for make this workshop available and suitable for all the people that are attending. Another point is that we would like to thank the key speakers, Jarno, Mariana, and Paolo, for the very, very interesting contributions, and also, of course, to the coordinator of our project, Gabriele, and Sonia, the team from University of Burgos for the organization of this workshop. And of course, for all the people involved in the CO₂MPRISE project, from SNEA to Helmond Centro Gristat, passing from the Chile and finishing for our group in our company Monolithos in Greece. So if there are some other question, curiosity from the participant, I don't know, we can finish our workshop here and see you then tomorrow at the same hour, 4 o'clock, sorry, at 8 p.m. For the webinar that will be focused on the small, medium enterprise oriented contribution. The first one will be from Monolithos, and the second one from the Sotacarbo, a research center here located here in Sardinia. So many thanks, and thank you again for participating to this workshop, CO₂MPRISE workshop.
Many thanks also from my side. It has been a really pleasure to hear your presentation and to have your contribution. I hope that it could be there could be the possibility to discuss again with you and to start new activities, new common activities, and new collaboration with all of you. I believe also that a big thank is coming from to you from all the attendees of the workshop, and we hope to see you soon, not only on the web but also in presence in somewhere. Okay,
yes, definitely hope so.
We hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again to all of you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Bye bye. Bye bye.